Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Conquest Collins Show. Here tonight, as always, with editor of Trojan's Wire, Matt Zemek, and myself. I want to remind you, this is your show. The idea of the show is basically it's a call-in forum for you guys to let us know, to sound off and tell us what the Trojan family's thinking when it comes to college football or Trojan athletics in general. We're on the eve of the spring camp opening up on Tuesday this week. There's a pro day coming up on the 20th, which is Wednesday. Lots to talk about. I'm throwing out the idea to you guys. Is there anybody's job that's completely safe? Whose job is solidified in this lineup on both either offense or defense? Love to hear from you guys and your thoughts on going into camp. Who do you think that be the fiercest competitions? What positions do you think will be the battle? We're here, but remember, this is your show. We may not be the last, but we were the first to give you guys a forum to call in and tell us what you think about the football program, what's going wrong, what you like. Matt, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great, Tim. And, another week. And, hey, pro days next week. But, of course, spring ball just around the corner. So it's getting to be that time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what? We're going to jump right in. We got our first call coming in. This is the kind of show. This is how I like the show to go. You guys keep bringing those calls. We're here for at least a half hour, and we'll stay as long, up to about an hour, as long as we get phone calls coming in. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Leon Johnson from Orlando, Florida. How you guys doing this evening?
Leon, thanks for calling back. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man.
What's on your mind? You think it's spring ball?
Yeah, a couple things. We've seen a lot of stuff going around with Aaron Donald retiring from the Rams this evening, and there's a lot of going around that he might be a coaching prospect or analyst for the USC defensive line with Coach Henny. Let me get your thoughts on that. And something that you brought up that I was thinking about earlier, the defensive back room. I listened to Mark Culkin earlier this week, and he said he had saw a penciled in depth chart for a lot of the players, and it's like the transfers for cornerback. I can't remember the name of the guy from UCLA, and then the guy from Mississippi State was penciled in as the starters. But,
John Humphreys at corner.
Looking back, yeah,
right?
And I can't remember his name, but I remember going back and watching the Holiday Bowl, and our cornerbacks played pretty good. Beavers at safety played pretty good. And I think that's going to be a real intense battle with those cornerback positions. And even those safety positions, with Zion's coming back, at Beavers, I think the cornerback and safety positions, it's going to be a really hard contest to see who's going to be starters.
Yeah, I will say, you know who our previous safety coach was, right? That's a loaded question for you. So I'm really excited to also see what these courses do. You brought up Zion Branch coming back from his knee surgery. Going to be great news. He said he'd be back by spring ball. Be great to see him. It is a loaded room. You brought up Anthony Beavers, a guy that's always done his battle, but he did at the end of that. He was the one that stripped that ball at the end of the Holiday Bowl, right? He got up in there and said, "Hey, look at me, coach. Pop that ball loose to secure that win." So. Yeah, I think there's no shortage of athletes at either one of the positions. Matt, your thoughts on the secondary?
To me, I would have to think, like, in terms of guys, I'm pretty sold on, starting, guys I think are very likely to start. I have to put John Humphrey there first. And first, he's good, and he was part of a good, proven UCLA defense, but also, like, Danton Lynn's going to feel comfortable with him.
Right.
I think, Jacoby Covington would also be near the top of the list. But I think, like, if there's a guy whom I'm thinking right now, it could change, but right now I'm thinking John Humphrey is going to be one of the two main starting cornerbacks. I would be inclined to say that at this point. Now, obviously, it's before spring, but so, like, I'm not going to say that, spring ball is going to provide that. But I'm just saying right now, seeing what I see, feeling what I feel, I'd say John Humphrey is going to be one of the two starting corners.
Yeah, and on that theme, I think I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. You also have Kamari Ramsey at safety. Both guys are coming over. Both guys are familiar with D'Antoni's Lee's scheme. So you're going to have that situation where you have coaches kind of like when you had when Lincoln Riley first came in. You had a coach on the field in Caleb Williams and Mario Williams, really, to an extent, in the receiver room. So anytime you have those guys, they're absolutely going to be assets, coaches on the field with their experience. But not just that, but they're both great athletes, both super physical. You're really not going to get a much more physical guy than John Humphreys at corner. I mean, I can't wait to see him. We're going to have to be physical up at the line, the Big Ten. So yeah, you could. I mean, I would almost. I know that no job, should be in ink, but I would have to say, I'm with you, Matt. I think both of them actually have a really good chance early to push towards that number one position. Great point. And then your Aaron Donald comment, I like that. I think it was Mark Colkin that threw it out there about the fact that he thinks maybe he's gonna jokingly that he wanted to be on the staff or as an analyst. I don't know if it's jokingly, but I would think that let's just celebrate this guy to begin with. Probably one of if not one of the greatest defensive interior guys almost ever, right? 10 straight Pro Bowls. I mean, 10 years, 10 Pro Bowls. That's pretty amazing right there. I think he and Barry Sanders, I think, are the only two guys that have that at feet, where basically every year they played, they made a Pro Bowl, and he's retiring at the right time. Matt, you want to fact check me on that? But I think that's right. I think I read that somewhere this week.
I didn't notice that for sure, so I don't want to nail that down without absolutely knowing it. So,
but yeah, Aaron Donald is. I mean, whatever he is, analyst, whatever. I'm thinking I just think those college guys, or those pro guys, are going to stay in the pro. I mean, Aaron Donald, if he is going to do anything, I think he might. But man, you're talking about a guy made a lot of money. I can see him being on TV. Maybe as an analyst there. I'm not sure if he retired from NFL to come down and coach or be an analyst for college.
Yeah, I would say that
USC give him some.
Go ahead.
I was going to say USC just needs to give him some money to stand on the line on the sidelines and recruit players.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he could be an on-campus recruiter, but he can't recruit off campus. But yeah, that would be amazing.
I would just say that Pat Narduzzi and Pitt would probably want him to be available for the program. I don't think Aaron Donald's going to go straight into coaching. I would imagine that he'll take a year off. He retired at 32. That says something. Like, he values quality of life. He didn't want to just continue to do this for the sake of it. Like, he wanted 10 really solid years, retire on his own terms while he's still healthy. So that's a different kind of guy. He's not Tom Brady playing into his mid 40s. That's for sure. And he certainly had plenty in the tank, but he just set it down and says that's a career and it's on to the next thing. So that's a very different individual. And it strikes me as that's a guy who's not ready to immediately jump into something else. He'll, look at the landscape. He'll enjoy retirement at least for 1 year. Then maybe next year or the year after, then you might see him try to plant his flag maybe as a coach with a new career. I would imagine he takes this year off. That said, I don't know. I am speculating along with the rest of you. I don't have any extra inside knowledge that no one else has, but that's my initial sense. And I do think that the main story of Aaron Donald's retirement is this is why Eric Henderson went to USC. Because if you have Aaron Donald, you are coaching Aaron Donald in the pros. You don't give up that gig, right? That's such a sweet gig to be coaching the best of the best in the NFL, and to know that the defensive line with Aaron Donald was at the center of the Rams' success. With Donald leaving, the defensive line and the Rams in general take a massive hit. So Eric Henderson had to have known this was coming, right? You don't leave Aaron Donald. And so now I think we can all process this and see, that's how Lincoln Riley was able to convince Eric Henderson to leave. Not that coming to USC was a bad move, not to suggest that, but it makes a lot more sense, right? We can all see that 2 + 2 = 4.
Yeah. Yeah, Leon, great call as always. Appreciate you calling, supporting the show. Hope you call back next week. Thanks again. It should be pretty interesting.
sir.
We
Thank
should
you,
have
guys.
we should have some fun stuff to talk about after the first week of spring ball.
Yes, sir. You guys have a great evening, man. Fight on.
Way to start off. Fight on. Yeah, I see what you mean. You know, the writing was on the wall. I'm sure if not 100%, there was definitely those two were close. There was definitely a conversation going on, you know, as far as his thoughts and him leaving and thinking about leaving. There were more than just a few reasons for Eric Henderson to look for somewhere else. That's a very great point. Now I'm surprised because usually about this point, you know, our guy Gary's calling in, but no call from Gary yet. You guys, the phone lines are open, 888-997-4539. We're here taking calls, whatever you guys want to talk about as usual. But we are trying to think if you have someone, maybe a position or a player that you think's pretty much locked down. Matt kind of threw out there, you know, that he feels that John Humphrey might be that guy at that one corner position that's got a pretty safe situation going into next year. I tend to agree with that one as well. I guess we could talk some Trojans Wire, Matt. Any articles this week you want to hit on this week that come to mind right away?
Well, you know, our main focus, we have two main foci coming up next week. You're going to be there at spring practice covering the Trojans and also the pro day, but you're definitely going to be covering spring practice. I don't want to commit you to pro day, but you will be following the Trojans for spring ball. And someone wondered, when does it start? Tuesday the 19th. That's when spring practice begins. So Tim's going to be covering that for Trojans Wire. I'm going to be focusing on the women's basketball team. Selection Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 o'clock in Los Angeles. USC expected to be a #1 seed. So Tim with spring ball. I'm also going to be throwing in some observations on football, of course, but also USC about to be a #1 seed in the NCAA tournament.
We have a nice intimate 40 people on right now. So if you, I'm sure you guys are probably the diehards here, right in the middle, just before these are drop for spring ball. It's kind of a little dead air time. But if you are new to the channel, if you want to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, appreciate everyone who's here tonight. Thank you for sharing your Saturday with us. But just take a second, hit that subscribe button. It really helps out the channel. We really appreciate it.
Saturday in London, England. Yes.
So caller, thank you so much for holding. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Gary from Dana Point.
Gary, thanks for checking in.
I had a little trouble calling in, just so you know. I called in several times and they said there's no one available to take your call. So, but nevertheless, I'm being persistent here. Let me give you guys a compliment before I start. You know, you go into a great restaurant and you look between two great entrees and you're thinking, I got to make a choice. What do I do? And you're conflicted about it. But here on this show, I have these two great entrees, Tim and Matt, and I get them both. So how lucky am I? And I am a diehard, certainly. On your opening graphic, you had a picture of Miller Moss. So my question has to do with Miller Moss and the quarterback situation. I love Miller Moss. I think he embodies what it means to be a Trojan. He's hung in there, and now he's risen to the top. Had the tremendous Holiday Bowl, and I love the guy, and I think he's a good quarterback, and I think he's going to be good. One of my concerns, though, is even though the offensive line is something that, Tim, you have extolled the virtues of, I'm a little concerned about it. And one of the things that Caleb could do for us, when the offensive line broke down, he could scramble out of there and make magic. And I don't know whether Miller could do that. So now we have this Mayava kid, who I've seen a little bit of, but he has some physical tools. He's big, he's fast, he can throw. And so I'm wondering if we're looking at a potential situation of whether or not at some point necessity is going to mean he's got to come in if our offensive line is breaking down. And you asked in the opening, is anybody's job safe? look, I love Miller. I hope he is there for 15 straight games. But I'm just wondering what your thoughts are. Could we possibly see Maiava in there, maybe sharing some time or put in situations if Miller isn't able to sustain the performance of the offensive line? That's my question.
Yeah, great points as always, Gary. Matt, you want to grab that first?
Yeah, Gary, fantastic point. Of course, Gary, fantastic point. That's kind of a redundancy. Like, if it's Gary, it's obviously a fantastic point. But, to dig into this, I think that this is an excellent topic right before spring ball and, before the battle that we're going to see, the competition between Miller Moss and Jaden Maiava. And my thought process is this. Now, Gary, you and the other people watching us here at the Voice of College Football, you know where I stand on one specific point. I think that Miller Moss should get the LSU start, unless something amazing happens that like Maiava just absolutely blows him out of the water. It's no contest. There's a Grand Canyon size gulf. As if the competition is relatively close, Miller Moss should be taking the first snaps, the first drive, the first quarter of the LSU game, because he's earned that. What happened in the Holiday Bowl showed that the players trust him. They go to battle with him. They'll go to the wall for him. That's really important. You can't manufacture that. That's just a natural thing that people respond to Miller Moss. He's a leader. He's a winner. People respect him. That counts for a lot, especially going into a week 1 game, high profile against a quality opponent. So I think he should get the start. But then after that, Gary, and everyone else here watching us here at the Voice of College Football, then the discussion about how Lincoln Riley handles this gets very interesting. And I would say that, with Caleb Williams, you had a Heisman Trophy winner last season, and you had an elite player, best of the best. So like you wanted him taking every meaningful snap in every meaningful situation. With Miller Moss, it's a little bit different, right? Because he played fantastic in the Holiday Bowl, but it was one game. And one game does not a career make. We need to see consistency. We need to see repetitions of quality performance, etc. And you want to honor Miller Moss's leadership and the way people trust him, but you also want to honor the fact that you brought in Jaden Maiava and you're putting up an open competition. You want to give Maiava a chance, and if Maiava plays well, like you have to respect that as well. You can't just park Maiava on the bench. So, Gary, you need to. We're heading into a situation where you want to honor Miller Moss's leadership, his presence on the roster, and you don't want him looking over his shoulder either. But you also want to give Jaden Maiava his fair shot. And how do you do that? I think that, if you're Lincoln Riley, you are emphasizing this as an open competition, but I think you do say that, we're going to find situations, Jaden Maiava, in which you're going to play. And that doesn't mean that, he's the starter. It doesn't mean that Miller Moss should be looking over his shoulder, but I think you make it clear that we're going to have packages for both players, and both players are going to get some degree of time. But Miller Moss has earned, with his leadership, with his presence, the time that he spent with this team, the loyalty that he's demonstrated, that he's going to be the starter against LSU. I think there's a way to communicate, plan, and organize everything such that they both get some snaps, but Miller Moss is recognized as the main presence on this team. But of course, as spring ball unfolds, the dynamic could change in ways we currently aren't expecting. But I do think there's a way to balance all of these different considerations. And I would just make the final point before I turn it over to Tim that Caleb Williams could do a little bit of everything, right? Like he has a vast skill set. It's why he's the presumptive #1 pick in the NFL draft. Moss doesn't do everything. Maiava doesn't do everything. So by playing both of them, you can get a wider, fuller skill set at the quarterback position by playing both guys. You can give defenses different looks. Like in that LSU game, you come out with Miller Moss in the first quarter, and then boom, you jab in Maava for a drive or two in the second quarter, and you might throw LSU completely off balance in a way that's going to leverage that game in a way that USC could get a real advantage. So I think there are tools in the toolbox here that point to giving Maava some opportunities, but without creating the idea that he's the number one and that he's kind of toppling or overriding Miller Moss in the process. I think there's a lot to consider here at this quarterback room, and that's why, again, fantastic point, Gary.
Yeah, couple points. You're not going to find many guys, Gary, I know you know this, that move and can break tackles, can move in the pocket, have that like just that uncanny ability he had just to feel the pressure behind, step up. But I do think that Miller has that. But the thing with Miller is we don't know really how well he has. You know why? Is because he's getting that ball out in rhythm. I mean, he's just boom, 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 delivering it, boom, boom, looking, check, and getting the ball out there. And when nothing's there, he's just dumping it away. So he doesn't really have to extend plays. If you notice that in that Holiday Bowl, how many holding penalties did we have, right? Because those offensive linemen aren't being asked to block and hold their block for 7-8 seconds, So I think it's just a little bit of a different situation. You just don't have, no matter what we were going to have, and this is not any kind of slight on Jaden or Miller. It's just, he was Caleb Williams. Guys, we got to realize that it was special. Again, I hope you guys after the Coliseum and saw him play because he's just something special. I think though with Miller, he's athletic. People forget he's athletic. I mean, he's not just some statue back there. I've seen him, he took off a couple times in that bowl game. When there's green in front of him, he's a cerebral quarterback. He's going to take those 7, 8, 9 yards and play it safe. So I think that we're going to be fine at quarterback. I really do. I think that Miller has the leg up on Maava because he's been here in the system and he's a good quarterback. He's one of those quarterbacks. He's not on anybody's list, but you watch halfway through the season when he starts putting up those numbers, they forget that, look at the receivers he has. He's been with Riley for now, this is his third off season, and he's shown us he can throw the ball. I mean, I threw his stats up a minute ago. That was against a really good Louisville, a very solid Louisville defense, and he was able to put up those 6 touchdowns. I mean, he probably could have had 8, really. So, I mean, I'm excited with Miller. I think his job initially is super safe, but we're in a great position because I think that Maava is going to push him. Even this spring. I think towards the end of spring, I think you might see his natural gifts push Miller, and that's exactly what you want to have at every one of our positions. You want some guy feeling that heat. They're both working hard at across the board, all of our guys on offense and defense, and I think that's the situation we have at quarterback. But I think starting against LSU, I think Matt, you're on this. Unless there's something I don't see coming, it's going to be Miller, I think, behind center. But again, that's what spring ball's for. That's the spring and fall camp are for. It's going to be a great conversation between now and when we go to Las Vegas. Anything else for us, Gary?
Well, I just want to say both you, Tim, and Matt, your answers were terrific. I can't believe it. Now I've got perspective. I thank you guys. When I talked about entering the restaurant and getting both great entrees, I managed to be a pig tonight, and I'm going to eat them all. But thank you guys so much. Fight on. We'll call you next week.
Fine on, Gary. Thank you. Thank you so much for calling. Hey, sorry, Matt, I was a little bit distracted there because I was checking through the phone queue, and I did notice that we did miss 8 calls, which is a bit weird.
Yeah. Adam was trying to get in.
Yeah,
Adam
so I'm wondering. I don't know. It's open for call queues. We got a New York phone call coming. Hold on a second. Hello, thanks for calling. First off, thanks for sharing your Friday with us. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, what's going on, boys? How you guys doing today? LV live from the East Coast, man. How you guys doing tonight?
What's up, LV? How you doing?
How do I sound, guys?
Perfect.
Sound great.
Awesome. It's great that I haven't spoken to you guys in a while. It's been busy here on the East Coast with sports and everything like that. So, but
well, let's talk about that.
Great points, man.
Wait,
I mean,
LV, let's talk about that. Are you okay? Saquon's gone. Are you okay, my man? Are you okay? I know that would
I'm
have hurt.
actually all right.
Okay.
You know what? Okay. You see, you got me, Tim. You got me. Now you touched my heart here. See, but you should have did that. But I'm actually okay. I was a little kind of, I disappeared for a little bit for a couple of days because of it. But no, it's okay. Listen, he had to take the guaranteed money. We understand that. It's okay. It's all a business. It's never personal. So we're happy for Saquon, but we just don't want to see him do well for 2 weeks out of the season next week. That's at Philly and at the Giants. Okay, let's get back to the topic. Okay, regularly scheduled program. You guys are making great points. Matt, I'm going to have to push back on you in a sense here with the whole switching out Miller Moss with Maeva and stuff like that. I don't really agree with that, and the reason why is because this is his first year really getting the helm, right? So now he's really running the show. I think to keep the stability of the offense and for guys to have their rhythm week in and week out, you're going to have to keep him in. Now, if you want to throw in a package maybe for Maeva to maybe do like a dive or a check down or something like that, then yeah, but I wouldn't mess around with the offense. Like he's got to get his rhythm. Whatever he establishes in practice with these guys, we got to see on Saturdays. To me, he's earned that. The way that they did for Caleb and let Caleb just run the show, we should do that exactly for Miller. That's just my only thing. I really think that for a guy of his skill set, taking him out and going back in different series, like that's just going to throw the offense off. Let's just keep it how it's going. That's just my only pushback with that. The one thing that I am looking forward to in the spring is not really so much what we have now, guys. I'm looking forward to who's going to be available once other teams start rattling off their depth charts. Who's going to be out there that are not happy in their situation, and then they see USC has an opening maybe on a defensive line, maybe on the offensive line, maybe another wide receiver, right? Who knows? But I'm really, really excited to see exactly who's going to become available, because trust me, guys, there are going to be a lot of big-time players that are going to say, you know what, we're out of here. We're not happy with this place. Let's go over to USC and see what's going on. AKA who I really want is Mikael Williams out of Georgia. I think he might be available. You didn't hear it from me. I'm just kind of throwing a little gem there. But what say you guys?
Someone, I wish I caught it earlier. Someone was saying that there's an all-conference tackle that's apparently in or entering the portal. I didn't hear or see that. I'm curious about that one. Yeah, we've been talking about this going all the way back to, when we had that lackluster December signing period, and then also obviously in February. So we all know we've been around this thing, right? Jordan Addison, when did he come? He came in the spring. So it's a time where you can get that extra piece, because what's going to happen? They're all going to show up for their spring ball. They're all the starters, or the guys that maybe were high, 5 stars and came in, 4 stars and came in expecting playing time, promised by their position coaches. Oh yeah, year 2, we got you in there. And then all of a sudden you get through maybe week 2 or week 3 of your spring ball, and you're like buried to 2s and 3s. It's not because you're a bad player. It's just because you've got, high level players in front of you. Those guys start to get some happy feet, and they start making some phone calls to friends and family, and feelers go out, which is not tampering. But that's what all these kids and all these things do. And you will see. I mean, one thing we do know, you will see USC pick up some big moves. My guess is going to be, you could probably see a wide receiver here or there. I think you're probably going to see an offensive tackle and some defensive tackles. That's my guess. That's my hope. That's my wish list. Matt, what are you thinking?
I mean, tackles, offense or defense. I mean, those are the main needs. And this is March 15th. The spring portal window opens April 16th. So pretty much we're a month away. So it'll be interesting to see. Like, I don't have any inside info on like who USC might get. I mean, it's just it's up to the program to land at least one big fish, if not 2, and to hope that the NIL program is robust enough to be able to make things happen, if that's a consideration. So we're just going to see if this program, the investments it has made, can deliver. And I let's remember this: Lincoln Riley was patient and deliberate in assembling his defensive staff through December into early January USC sacrificed the immediacy of assembling a staff right away in late November, which they could have done, but they chose not to do. They wanted to get that staff locked in. So you're sacrificing some chances to get guys in the December portal window. And so the main play was always the spring. At least that was Lincoln Riley's philosophy and approach. So this spring portal window, just to underline this basic point, it is hugely important. It's not peripheral. It is vital that USC gets some added depth on the roster.
Yeah.
Totally agreed. I mean, that's really what I'm looking at. I love exactly what they're building. I love what, we got to see exactly how things are going to pan out in spring. I see how guys are going to be looking. I'm sure Lincoln's going to still keep a close practice. So it'll just be kind of like word of mouth things that we'll hear. But if you guys know, in order to be a great teammate, you got to build inside and out, right? Tim, your dad has spoke about it, right? Inside out. So the thing is that if we get that offensive line tight, if we get heavy rotations of defensive linemen, basically what Michigan was doing, same thing, right? You get those big monsters in the middle, rotation. Bear gets tired. Now you have another guy coming in. Then you have another guy coming in. Now the pressure's on. Now that defense is rolling. To me, we need maybe 3 more probably defensive linemen. We get that, we're going to be a problem. You've seen the schedule, right? You guys have shown it numerous times here. We have a very, very favorable schedule. To me, the toughest game is going to be at Michigan. Maybe just down here for them, but at Michigan, and then, of course, the opener against LSU, because we don't know what LSU is going to look like. To me, those are the toughest games. Outside of that, I think it's a cakewalk. So, excuse me, I apologize. Penn State, too. Penn State, well. But outside of that, I think it's a cakewalk, man.
Wait. What? Really, LV? Really? You think this is a favorable schedule? Cakewalk? I don't know.
I think so. I don't see anybody on there. I'm thinking of teams that are coming back. If you think of Notre Dame, okay, fine, right? But we have them at the Coliseum. Michigan's on a downspin. Washington is on a downspin. To me, the top teams there on that schedule is Penn State, Notre Dame, and maybe an LSU at the top of the key, right? The first game, right? Because you don't know what they're going to have. You don't know what we're going to look like in the first game. But outside of that, for the rest of the schedule, that's what I'm saying that. For the rest of the schedule, I think it's a cakewalk, just my honest opinion. When you look at guy for guy, skill for skill, how the Big Ten was last year, it was not close to what the Pac-12 was. So that's why I'm saying that. So I just see 3 tough games. So let's say we go 9-3, maybe 10-2. I'm just throwing it out there. So that's just my opinion. Listen, great show as always, guys. I'm going to go back to kind of like wiping my tears to figure out the Saquon situation, but I'll be good, okay? Fight on from the East Coast. Great show, guys.
Yeah, fight on LV. Yeah, okay. I shouldn't have. That was unfair. LV calls in here on his Friday, and I brought up Barkley. That was bad. That was bad juju for me. I want to share your optimism. I'm not sure if I can. Hang on 1 second, caller. We'll get to you 1 second. I'm not sure if I can share that optimism. You make one very valid point though, right? Like what is Jed Fish going to be like, up at Montlake? What's that situation going to be? I'm writing about the venues, not necessarily the teams, because I don't know how these teams. There's so much coaching flux, right? You got is that Mike Denbrock? Is that who's offensive coordinator at LSU? So they got new coaching staff at LSU. You're gonna have a whole new coaching staff at Washington, like you said. We don't know what we're gonna walk into. You can have a new coaching staff at Michigan, right? But we do know we're going into the big house. We do know we're going up to Husky Stadium. Regardless of the coaching situation, that's gonna be a hostile crowd, hell of a drive, hell of a flight. I think you're right in the fact that they were getting him at the right time. Do you know what I mean? New staff's rolling in. We're in year 3, although we're installing a new defense. I still think that defense, like Dantlin says, is going to move fast. I think we should be good, Matt. But I would stop just short of saying that I think we have, because I don't think we have a favorable schedule. That's the one thing I'm kind of worried about. All right. Callers, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Rick. I'm calling from LA.
Hey, Rick. Thanks for calling. You first time caller?
How you doing? Yes, very first time caller. Yep.
Oh, thank goodness. I mean, I love all of our callers. Trust me. I love all of you sharing your Friday with us. I love this. I love getting some new blood in here,
I
Rick.
listen
Thank
all the
you.
time.
Thank you for calling
Yeah, I listen all the time, and just wanted to put my 2 cents in it.
You bring it. Okay. The floor is yours.
Oh, okay. So recently I watched an interview with Miller Moss, and it was like a really in-depth interview, and it went over a lot of things. And one of the things that the interview, I forget his name. I'm really bad. I know I should have remembered his name, but he recalled when Miller Moss was 8 years old, and they used to meet up on Sundays for like lessons with Steve Clarkson. And he just recalled how at that age, Miller Moss would just have just like confidence within him. And he talked about how small he was, but still on the field getting taught from Steve Clarkson and being competitive. And so he said his dad mentioned that Miller had some type of growth spurt between, I think Miller Moss said, between 7th and 9th grade. He grew to, like, I forget, 5'9" and 6'2". And I'm just like, that like behind that peek behind the curtain of like where Miller Moss has, his development, he's well taught. And like one of the things that I think fans didn't know because he hadn't played in so long, not even having to play his senior year and being backup for so long, is like, is he gonna be rusty? Is he gonna still have the fundamentals? Is he still gonna be able to, sit there in a pocket and take a hit? And I just feel that game against Louisville, he answers so many questions, like when it comes to like trusting his teammate when he threw it up to Jacoby Lane, and that play, he dodged the lineman, ducked under, rolled out a little bit, and just threw it up there because he knew he had his player one-on-one, and like other plays where, he hits Deuce Robinson up the middle, but he took a huge hit from a big boy, a big nose tackle from Louisville. And, all the plays, the timing play to Ware Hudson, where he threw a dime, and like he answered so many questions when it comes to his fundamentals and his pocket awareness, and he has mobility in the pocket. And so I was just so impressed by that. Now he knows the book. Now he has a whole off season to lead his squad, who were saying, we a team now. He has the whole off season to do that. And by no means the backup from UNLV, I know that boy, he a baller. But I just feel that with Miller Moss knowing the playbook like the back of his hand, he's a smart guy, he graduated so fast from USC, and just now he has the team all behind him, the support of everybody, that locker room, that just like that swagger that he had when he hit Deuce Robinson and he got up and he just looked at the sideline and just that swag, that walk, that strut. I was like, okay, Miller Moss, he's QB1, And so I just feel that I'm so happy for him, having to sit behind players for that long has to take a toll on you. And I just think, when the off-season workouts, especially spring, we will be able to see him perform in the spring game, and just the whole off-season being able to lead the team. Like I'm ready for you. I'm ready for LSU in Vegas. I really am.
Wow, where have you been, Rick? That was you your first call. You've nailed it. I fully agree with you. I think you're pretty much kind of echoing my statements about Miller. You brought up a couple plays I forgot about. He took that shot right as he stood right in there, took that shot. I love his moxie. Yeah, and delivered a dime, delivered it right on time. I can't agree with you more. If you're talking about just pure leader going into that game, he said nothing but I don't think I've ever heard him say something that I wasn't impressed with. Just his maturity and how he speaks and how he leads. I mean, these intangible skills. Like, sure, maybe he might not have that 4.6, 40 speed and strength and eyes in the back of his head, but we're going to see that. Our sample size of Miller is so small that we just don't know what he is capable and what he's not capable of. I do know this. I do know he can lead the team. I do know he has his head screwed on straight. I do know he's a Trojan. He made that very clear. He said, I don't care who comes in. I'm competing in the spring. I'm going nowhere. He's saying all the right things, and his performance in the Holiday Bowl shows that his arm can back up his mouth. Matt, what do you got?
Well, Rick, first off, thank you for the first time call, and it's a great call. And, everyone on here, everyone in the chat, everyone who's calling in loves Miller Moss, respects Miller Moss, thinks Miller Moss has a lot of potential and a bright future. I agree. I will agree with that. But let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's not anoint him as the second coming. Let's not get a little too far ahead of things here. That LSU opener is going to reveal a lot about Miller Moss. And it's fine to be confident about Miller Moss, but let's stop saying that he would have won the games last year that Caleb Williams lost. We don't have to trash Caleb Williams.
I never said anything like that.
Yeah, Matt, I don't think any of us said that.
Anything like that.
I'm talking about the chat.
Okay, let me. I would have argued a little bit with that.
Well, hold on, Rick. Let's finish here, and then you can.
We do not need to throw Caleb Williams overboard. I'm seeing in the chat, Miller Moss has the intangibles that Caleb Williams lacks. Come on now, the Caleb Williams went 11-1, and he won the Heisman Trophy. Pump the brakes there. All right. Caleb Williams has intangibles. You're not the presumptive number one pick in the NFL draft if you don't have intangibles. All right, you're not a Heisman Trophy winner if you don't have intangibles. USC.
I never mentioned Caleb Williams. What are you? I'm not arguing about Caleb Williams.
No, Rick. I think he's saying in general, the chat, and in general, he's concerned about people stepping back and not anointing Miller as this.
Talking about the chat, Rick. Your call was fantastic. I'm talking about the chat because we're talking about Miller Moss. So there are important things. There are important things to say about Miller Moss here, and one of them is that you don't have to track. I'm not talking about you, Rick. People in the chat don't have to trash Caleb Williams to praise Miller Moss, and we do need to be a little bit level-headed here, because let's remember, and this is not that Miller Moss is bad. It's just that let's be measured here. Miller Moss was not great in his full half of duty against Stanford. This was an evolutionary process where Miller Moss had to soak up knowledge, and he had to grow and learn within the system and observe a lot of things. And he learned from Caleb Williams making mistakes, I'm sure. He learned about making the check down. He learned about, giving up on one play, not trying to be the hero, moving on to the next play. I'm sure that he gained a lot of valuable knowledge from that. So I think that Miller Moss does have a great level head on his shoulders, and that he does have great football IQ and intelligence and the tools to succeed. But let's not put too much emphasis on one game. And it was a good Louisville defense. I'm not going to tell you that Louisville wasn't motivated or Louisville didn't have good players. Louisville did. But the biggest thing about Miller Moss, all right, is that all 10 teammates played great around him, and you had 11 guys going together. It wasn't Caleb Williams' fault that the other 10 guys around him at USC last season didn't play well. The other 10 guys didn't measure up. Dorian Singer didn't get open. Mario Williams was a bust. The offensive line regressed from the 2022 standard because Voorhees, Nealon, weren't part of the mix. Bobby Haskins wasn't part of the mix. It was a lot of different things going on, and we don't need to scapegoat Caleb Williams for that. And Rick, I know you didn't do that. I'm talking about the chat, but it's part of a larger conversation about Miller Moss, and it's about calibrating our arguments in ways that do give Miller Moss his deserved props and his deserved respect. But in terms of predicting how good Miller Moss is going to be, and I think this is my central point, it's not just about what Miller Moss brings to the table. It's about what those 10 teammates are bringing to the table. And in the Holiday Bowl, you saw 10 teammates pulling around their quarterback and playing better football at all of those 10 other positions than what we saw during the regular season with the 10 guys surrounding Caleb Williams. And that is an essential part of how we evaluate Miller Moss and the USC offense heading into 2024.
Response, Rick?
Okay. Well, I can't see what the chat is talking about. So my whole thing was to talk about Miller Moss. Caleb Williams, his legacy is forever. He's gonna have a jersey, in a parasol. Like, I never mentioned Caleb Williams, but my thing is about Miller Moss, and I would use an analogy of like a point guard who just has to dish to all his players. Just throw dimes, just set up your teammates, run the offense. I feel that he has the capability of doing that. And I feel like he hasn't had that much game experience. But if you think about college quarterbacks who on our schedule, we don't have to worry about the whole college. We just got to worry about the quarterbacks we're going to go against on our schedule. And the LSU, they're going to have a quarterback who replaces Jaden Daniels. He had his bowl game. He did well. So he has a small, sample of playing. Other than that, on the schedule, who can you say can outdo Miller Moss when Miller Moss is on point? You know what I'm saying? Maybe he go have a bad game, no doubt. But if we are supposed to expect our defense to improve, who on the schedule is a quarterback who you're like, man, he can really light us up if we don't have our stuff together? And I don't see that. We don't have to worry about the top 25. We just got to worry about who's on USC schedule. And so I think that with Miller Moss back there, to have the team have confidence in him, I think, it's possible that, you have a really successful year. I'm not going to say how many games they're going to win, but I just feel like there's no other quarterback on the schedule who strikes fear that I don't think USC defense with improvement, all, up and down the coaching staff, that's going to light them up. I think they already had that happen to them the last season.
Yeah. And I think that's the key going into the season. People need to realize we don't know if this is going to be a top 25 defense, but one thing we do know, it's not going to be 111. This defense is not going to fall apart. It's going to have fundamental. Okay, let Matt just roll his eyes. I'm just saying there is a world it could be. I would find it highly surprising, as I guess maybe what I would say. But this is a wait and see. And I was excited about the guys we brought in for the defense last year. There was question marks about what it was going to look like. This is a whole new scheme. And a scheme that, whether it's with Lynn, it's just a scheme that's a proven scheme. And if we believe that these guys can coach, and these guys have not failed everywhere they've gone, track record shows that they're capable coaches, at the very least, teaching a very good scheme. So how quickly they can install it, how quickly it's ready to go up against LSU. And it was, I did have, I think I had Roger Dodger correct me. Is Joe Sloan, right, is going to be offensive coordinator at LSU, not Mike Denbrock, who's going to be not joining Brian Kelly again. He's going up to Notre Dame, but without Brian Kelly this time. So yeah, my bad on that. But great call, Rick. Listen, this is what we want. We want these conversations. We want these fresh voices, these fresh ideas. Thank you so much for calling in, Rick. I hope you call back in very soon.
Okay. Can I have one more thing?
Sure, go ahead. First-time callers get the red carpet.
What? Okay, for sure. So I think a really big element that was missing was intensity from the defense. And how you will have Eric, Coach Henny, with that dog, what I'm saying, that tenacity. Everybody's gonna be fired up, and I just feel like the intensity on the defense is gonna be night and day. I believe they are going to be solid with fundamentals, solid in their approach with tackling. I really hope that gets solved, because it's been horrendous for years. And just scheme-wise, and just being able to execute a game plan. And it just didn't seem like the defense were detached from the last defensive coordinator. And I recall a point where the TVs caught the coach, the last year's defensive coordinator, put his hands up to break the huddle, and no player put their hands up.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's the disconnect right there. There it is, right there. We see it. We could try to asked about it, what's going on. No, I saw my own eyes. They were checked out, clocked out. They weren't in it. So I think with the coaching staff, the leadership now, it's going to be just a solid team with fundamentals, and I just can't wait. So that's all.
First call, great first call, Steve.
Great call, Rick. Great
I
call.
hope you follow
And
up
again,
very soon. When we're in the off season, it's a little bit slow. It's a good time, you guys out there. If you're just first call to cut your teeth, because pretty soon we're gonna get some. There's gonna be some meat on the bone. We're gonna be talking about spring camp positions, and we're gonna actually see some. Well, we won't be seeing practice. I'll hopefully get little glimpses here and there of something. But I will tell you, it's gonna get fun. And this call-in show, I know, is gonna blow up this year. Steve, I hope you're a big part of it. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your Friday with us. All right, fight on, man.
Fight on.
Great call. That's it. First time caller. That's all you gotta do. Bring it. Come on in. Have a solid point. Be ready to push back. Matt and I love that. We want that pushback. There is definitely something weird going on with the phones. I've tried during that call to go and try to reset everything. I know Adams tried calling in. I know that Brian tried calling in, and it's showing me I have 18 missed calls, but no one's even going to the queue. So
just as long as we're ready by late August. Just as long as we're ready by late August.
We'll be ready next Friday. I do apologize to any one of you 19 now people that called in and somehow it did not pick you up. Give us a try here. We're not on much longer. 888-997-4539. I'm just happy to see that we have people calling in again. We're right in the right smack dab in the beginning of middle of March, and we got people calling, talk about Trojan football. That's my dream, is having no off season. We're here. We're proud of our Trojans, and we're talking football. This is your guys' show. Call in. We're going to hang out for a few minutes here. I know that maybe it's because you can't, hold in the queue, but there is a line open right now. If you haven't called, let's go ahead and grab Adam's super chat once again. Adam, constantly supporting us financially on this show, as well as just with comments. Always appreciate you. Push it back really hard on my thoughts, and Matt as well. We need you to keep us here, and that's it. We're not worried. We want to have these conversations, and I'm not up here telling you I know. A lot of the stuff I'm going off is secondhand knowledge. It's just a speculation game. We're having a good time. I hope you're having it. And let's go with Adam here. So this is absurd. Moss should be named the starter immediately. Now, remember that if you're going to have an open competition, you can't name your starter before spring ball even starts. But I would say it's kind of unspoken. I even think that Maeva knows that he's going to have to come in there and knock out the challenger, the champ. The only way he's going to get this, he comes in and he just sets the whole camp on fire with his play, because Miller has 3 springs under his belt, 2 fall camps, and he one thing he was talking about, I can't remember who was talking about, but his rapport with the receivers. These talented sophomore receivers, when he was throwing with the 2s, who do you think he was throwing to? He's throwing with these guys. So Miller has, thousands of reps with these guys. So that's also another thing to weigh in here. He knows the receiving core that's going to be filling in. He was incredibly high. He has incredibly high football IQ, no doubt, and the maturity and intangibles. Matt, why do you see coming after you again, Matt? Matt, why do you think there should be a competition? P.S. Fire Andy Stankiewicz. So why don't you hit that first part?
Okay. Well, first, Adam, I'm not instigating a controversy. Who wants a quarterback competition, Adam? Lincoln Riley does. Lincoln Riley has said, we covered this in February. Lincoln Riley said in February, there's going to be an open competition. All right. So I'm not making this up from whole cloth. This is what Lincoln Riley wants. So really, if you have a gripe, you should raise it with Riley. And in terms of, to drill down more specifically, Adam, I've said Miller Moss should be the starter for the LSU game. Now, it doesn't mean like he's the guaranteed starter the whole season, but he should get the start for the LSU game. So I don't think I'm instigating any kind of controversy at all. Lincoln Riley wants an open QB competition for the spring. And there's one other thing to say about Miller Moss. It's coming from the chat as well, not specifically talking about Adam, but I've seen multiple comments in the chat. If we had Miller Moss, we would have gone 10-2 last year. Stop yourselves. Okay. We had a terrible defense. Miller Moss functioned well on a team that had a defense that was actually functioning well, because Alex Grinch and Dante Williams weren't there, and Taylor Mays did a lot of the preparation for the Holiday Bowl. We don't beat Washington. Okay, Miller Moss would not have beaten Washington. Caleb Williams was great in that game. USC scored 42 points. We're not beating Washington. We're not beating Oregon in Eugene. Our defense, secondary, absolutely Charmin soft. Bryson Barnes, we let Bryson Barnes march down the field against Utah. Like, that had nothing to do with Miller Moss versus Caleb Williams. Okay, Caleb Williams lost the Notre Dame game. All right, but the other games, you could make a slight argument for Utah because the USC's offense wasn't that consistent over the full 60 minutes. But UCLA, Washington, Oregon, those losses had absolutely nothing to do with who USC's quarterback was on that given night. Okay, so can we please just, if you want to say with Miller Moss and Taylor Mays in charge of the defense, Miller Moss at quarterback and Taylor Mays in charge of the defense with Alex Grinch completely removed from the picture, if you want to do that hypothetical and say USC's 10-2, fine. But if you're just going to say Miller Moss would have been 10-2 with an Alex Grinch defense, stop. Please don't make yourself look more foolish.
Well, really quickly also is it's not just on the defense. A huge reason why this offense struggled last year was the offensive line. When you had to switch up, we just losing Andrew Voorhees and Bobby Haskins on the left side. Okay, just think about that. Bobby Haskins was our one example of bringing a guy in through the portal for 1 year, perfect plug and play, worked out great. Brett Nealon, 3-year starter at center, just there calling the line play. Just everything worked on that line. It wasn't perfect. So Caleb was able to manage that on that offensive line. For whatever reason, that line did not come together last year, and you saw it. You put an exclamation point on that Notre Dame game when you just watched Caleb. He felt like because the defense wasn't going to stop anyone and the offensive line wasn't protecting him, he was just playing sandlot football and just trying to wing it. And my heart went out to him because the guy is going to be the number 1 draft in the NFL draft coming up. The guy has an incredible arm. Like I said, he just has his eyes in the back of his head, great pocket awareness, super athlete, strong as a horse. Defensive ends just rolling off his back. It was not Caleb Williams. If anyone, he was the least of our problems last year. But Adam, always appreciate you. Hope you can call in. Matt, we got a call right now if we want to hit that really fast. Brian, thank you. Brian, where are you calling from? Arizona, correct?
No, San Fernando Valley.
San Fernando Valley, my bad.
Here in LA.
My bad.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, local Trojan. So anyways, sticking to topic and not getting into, bashing Caleb for Christ's sake. Jonah Monheim has expressed an interest to play the interior line position at guard. Do we think that will actually happen this year? And secondly, Akili Arnold, super excited about the transfer, but is he even going to get on the field? That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, well,
I'll open the lines up for somebody else to call on.
Thanks. Hey, thanks, Brian. Again, as always, huge support of this show. My bad in the San Fernando Valley, Arizona swap up. Couple of things. So Akili Arnold, it's an embarrassment of riches. We were talking about that safety room, right? And we're talking about the competition at safety. We're talking about the competition at linebacker. They brought in a bunch of guys, and I feel that having that competition is a good thing. It definitely can't be a bad thing. He didn't come down here from Oregon State to sit, so he's definitely going to be competing. It's just a really deep room. I know that he could obviously he can play.
Well, can I pose the question just to get your take? With Lynn's defense being so flexible, I have a hard time imagining that we're not going to have safeties that are also playing linebacker hybrids and possibly defensive ends that are playing hybrid linebacker positions. Is it possible that we just see what Grinch wanted to do with the speed D, and we actually get to see it with these players in position, knowing what they're doing?
It's a solid point, Matt. You see you nodding. You want to add to that?
I agree. I mean, I think that having players being able to take on different roles, play different positions, you're definitely going to see that. And flexibility is something that the defensive coaches talked about at their media availability in February. And if you listen to Danton Lynn, Matt Entz, Eric Henderson, Doug Belk, like they are pointing to a flexible arrangement. And like this also flows into how Danton Lynn has said, this is not going to be a quick install of the system. It's going to be very slow, deliberate in teaching concepts. So like no one's in a rush to make certain decisions, assignments, conclusions. They're going to try and slowly teach knowledge, and they're going to be very deliberate about identifying if players can, need to be in one role or can take on multiple roles. So I definitely think that flexibility is going to be part of the package. One thing Danton Lynn said, and I think Tim mentioned this a few weeks ago, one of the things Danton Lynn believes in is we want to make a little look like a lot, meaning that you have a simple set of concepts that are easily communicable, teachable. The players can absorb and retain knowledge very easily, but then you want to create the appearance of disguise and complexity for the opposing quarterback, for the opposing offense. So within that, it definitely points to guys being able to be moved around in different ways, and that their knowledge base will equip them to be able to handle different positions. Absolutely.
Yeah, box safety. Just get the big physical safety in the box. It's gonna be fun. I think you're on something there. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I get super excited thinking about this because we can all recall Talanoa Hufanga, Sua Craven, let's go back to Troy Polamalu. It's like these guys were all over the field, and it was overwhelming and awesome. And I want to know, like myself, I'm not posing it to you guys, but feel free to, play with this topic and idea. Who, Jalen Smith comes to mind, but who on the defense could be that guy that just jumps off the television screen to you? Which one of those guys looks like that? Might be that steps up.
You bring up Jalen Smith, who's been, just improving every year to year, getting bigger, trying to stay healthy, right? Keep him healthy. I that's a great call. I mean, you just saw all the magic. You just touched all the wonderful spots in Trojan land when you brought up those three guys. That were, you have a Sua Cravens who's like that hybrid safety linebacker that can come up and play on the line and stuff. That role. That's a good question. Who you're going to see to fill that? I guarantee you one thing. They like to. This defense likes to attack. They like to have the offense on their heels, not the other way around. They can generate that pass rush, keep everybody honest. I think that's what they want to do. They want to make they want to make the offense uncomfortable, right? Look at USC last year in that UCLA game. Did that offense look like they were in rhythm? Did they look comfortable out there? That's the whole purpose of this defense, and that's what you're talking about. That big flexible. It's a word that was echoed over and over again. You said it. You got a lot of guys that are big guys. We talked about earlier. We're just
and fast, and fast, and we only ever saw the uncomfortableness coming from the end, from our defensive ends and our rush ends, and that was where we were attacking all year long. If we were passive, playing off. And then our linebackers were reacting too late, missing tackles because they were then they were reacting instead of responding, and they looked physical and violent. Tackett Curtis looked like he could have been something amazing if he was actually in position, But I mean, I could see why Grinch was enamored by the kid. He was huge and fast. He looked like Clay Matthews. You know what I mean? But it wasn't. And this new defensive concept is confusion. Well, not only for us, because we don't want to know, but for the opposing offenses, because like a 3-4, you don't know where pressure's coming from. Last year it was obvious. It was always coming from the defensive line, and they were always going to be out of position.
Oh, and then when they
don't
weren't
have to worry about that.
And when they were not in position, the linebackers were getting caught in the trash and just getting caught inside. It was. I don't think. Look, let's do this. Let's put a moratorium on talking about the defensive play, especially the second level last year. Let's just put that one to bed, because again, Matt will shake his head at me as always. I get all Pollyanna excited about our defense, but I will say this: it's gonna look different. It's just. Whatever it is, it's gonna look different. So slamming our heads against a wall, we're watching guys get sucked inside, whether it be at the end or a linebacker, a linebacker getting sucked in, whoever it might be. I think those days are behind us. So let's take a deep breath and move on.
Okay, I agree. Let's put that one to bed. But let's have a good laugh too. Why are people questioning whether or not Wisconsin will even be a remote challenge for us with Tackett Curtis following The Grinch Who Stole Christmas? Like, I know it's off topic, and I apologize, but it's just too funny for me.
No, well, that will be fodder, I'm sure. Message boards will be like, I'm sure that Ryan Abraham over at 247 at USCFootball.com is gonna be very excited for that week, because I think he might burn out a couple servers with all of the comments about Tackett Curtis and Grinch that are gonna be flying off the fingertips of every keyboard jockey on the peristyle. So it should be you guys right there alone. That's why you need to go over and get a subscription to 247 or On3, whoever's your flavor of choice, because that week alone is going to be priceless on the message boards. I guarantee it.
Oh, I'm gonna start blasting on X just to bait people. Feel free, guys, to engage, because you guys are amazing, and the things that you say carry weight, and it's not emotion driven, unless we're talking about sanctions from 2004, and I'm guilty of that too. Sam, I know that you can get your string pulled pretty easily on that topic too. But hey, I'm gonna get off, because I want to hear somebody else, and I want to hear you guys respond. I'll call back another time.
All right. Well, listen, I absolutely great call again, Brian. Appreciate you calling in. And really quickly, you said sanctions. Let's just get this out of the way. NCAA, I'll be nice and sweet. You guys are idiots. Give the man his trophy back. It's pretty absurd that you guys would take a trophy away from a guy that won on the field. And I do think, guys, you watched it. It's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of momentum coming up. And I think we're going to see more and more of it.
Oh, big time.
And more players are going to jump on. Matt and I have been kind of kicking around the idea of, which one of these Heisman Trophy winners for USC needs to get on that soapbox and kind of do what Reggie kind of can't do. We talk about the Trojan family. Let's step up. Let's support Reggie. I would love them to be a fly on the wall for these conferences, because these guys all talk. I know these guys talk. I would love to hear that. I would love to hear the conversations going on between Reggie, Matt, Marcus Allen, Mike Garrett. I would love to hear what everyone has to say. Carson Palmer and now Caleb. I mean, there's right there. You got. We lost Charles White last year, but you still have 7 Heisman. 6 of which, if you're not counting Reggie, who could be voicing their opinion. And I think that all 6 of them absolutely should be stirring it up, kind of like what Johnny Manziel's doing. So give his trophy back, NCAA. You guys are idiots.
And beyond the SC stuff, that's an elite fraternity. Those guys will be forever brothers, whether or not they like each other, at certain points in competition, especially the ones that won in close years. But those guys have the opportunity to step up and do something impactful at a time when college football is changing so dramatically that it too could change the narrative.
Exactly.
Player empowerment.
Did you ever play Mike? Hey, Brian.
It's just SC. Yeah.
No, go ahead. Finish that thought. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just talking about, player empowerment, but, it sounded like you had something that you wanted to piggyback on that.
I do.
Because,
well,
people can galvanize themselves against us so easily that if it's just Trojans making a stink, it could easily get swept under the rug and pushed away. But if these guys can reach out to their rivals that really aren't rivals, at that level, these guys, especially the super successful ones, times, people with credibility that went on to the league and had sustained success. They weren't just failed Heisman winners. I mean, these guys come together and do something. It could change the legacy going forward for these guys feeling like there's a shot. All these guys going forward that dream of winning a Heisman one day, especially in this landscape.
I'm sure the Heisman Brotherhood is a tight fraternity. And so these guys just need to step up for Reggie. I would be shocked. Very few of them went through without, and I'm fully on board with them receiving, $100 handshake here or there. So they got their perks. I'm not saying that makes it right. That's not my point. My point is let he who's without sin cast the first stone. There's nobody out there that's pristine, that's going to throw their nose up that Reggie and his family are just going to get what really, in my opinion, they deserve. But think about Reggie and NIL right now. My goodness, he'd be driving 2 Lambos, one to practice and one to games. I mean, that's literally what it'd be. By the way, Matt, I can't believe let me get away with it. I put up Mondays. It's not 49-16. It's 49-21. And Matt, I got that one by you, Matt, just really quickly to make sure. And by the way, did either one of you guys play back in the day? Did you guys play Mike Tyson Punch Out? Remember that game?
Oh yeah.
Okay, they'd wobble, and then you do the knockout. That's the NCAA right now. They're like Glass Joe wobbling. They're just wobbling, and it's just ready for that big uppercut, and to knock them out, because they have an opportunity here. They're getting bad press after bad press after bad press. They can step forward and say, hey, you know what? You're right. Our investigation was absolute crap. It's been proven in the courts that we did a bunch of crap behind the scenes, quite frankly, just illegal. And they got sued for it.
It was criminal
millions.
and illegal.
Yeah. So they have an opportunity now.
Criminal and illegal. They destroyed a man's career.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he got paid
outrageous.
for it. Yeah. And so I think that they need to do the right thing, step forward, and they can make some points. So, hey, listen, Brian, awesome.
These Heisman winners, they can come forward and do something, not just for Reggie, but they by speaking up can change the narrative on NIL easily by talking about the circumstances surrounding a sham of a Heisman historical hijacking. If these guys get real, these players coming forward will have their day, and it will be a day in the sunshine, because everybody who's honest with themselves know that Bagman have been running this damn show forever. And why should Reggie be penalized for something his mom did with somebody who wasn't allowed to be around in the first place?
Well, we don't know the ins and outs, so I think it was the stepfather and a prior relationship with a friend, but we're not going there. We're not relitigating. We're just saying give the man his trophy back, period. Great call.
Copy that.
Great call, Brian. Thank you so much for calling in. Thank you for sharing your Friday with us. I haven't looked at the comments in a few minutes. Probably going crazy, but appreciate you calling in. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your call.
All right, sounds good. Bye.
Bye now. All right, Matt. Well, we've gone in a bunch of different directions. I was kind of hoping that we could get Adam to call in. I don't know if that's probably going to happen, because we are getting a little bit late in the day. I do not know. I did. USC reached out to me. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it to Pro Day, which sucks. I really do want to do that, but I don't think I can be there. It's a 8:30 start, so I'm not sure if I can attend. But I am excited about spring ball starting up on Tuesday, which is phenomenal. I know that I'm going to have a lot of spring ball stories. I've got a lot right now on the line ready to write. And you guys, I'm going to throw something out actually this week about, which venues you guys think are going to be the toughest. You guys can help me out in the chat right now. Go ahead and throw it down. Oh, we got Adam calling in too. So hang on, Adam, 1 second. I think that we could do that, you guys. So of all the venues we're going into, and I know everyone's going to pick the Big House of Michigan, but what would you guys say would be the number 2 most difficult venue? Not the team we're going to play, but the environment and venue we're going to in the fall, if you had to. So if you want to throw that in chat, I'd really appreciate it. But finally, good things come to those who wait. Adam, thanks for calling in. How you doing tonight?
Yeah, hey guys, thanks so much for taking my call. I tried to call in a few times. Something was wrong, but I'm glad I got a chance to talk to you. Great show as always. Just a couple of things. when I watched Miller Moss against Louisville, it was clear. He almost reminded me of Drew Brees. He has the intangibles. His football IQ is off the charts. He's very composed. He reads defenses well and quickly and knows exactly where to go with the ball, even when he's under pressure. He should be the starting quarterback right now. We also need to have a good running game. But the other thing I want to say is I do not agree with the criticism of Grinch and this focus on the coaches being the problem. At the end of the day, our players on defense did not play well this year. They didn't buy into the scheme. They didn't know the scheme. They couldn't tackle. And it's not all on Grinch. So what do I think is going to happen this year? I think if we name Moss the starting QB, there's going to be tremendous buy-in. If D'Antolin does what I expect he'll do, which is, really improve the defense, we're going to go 9-3 and we have a shot at the playoff. But so my question is, Matt, why do you think Riley would even entertain the idea of a QB competition?
Because he wants Miller Moss to be better. Like, he wants iron to sharpen iron. He wants to make sure that Miller Moss doesn't get any kind of complacency. Not that that would be likely anyway, but like, you want to make sure that what Miller Moss did in the Holiday Bowl carries over, right? You want it to translate through the spring, through the summer, and into that LSU opener. So you want to make sure that Miller Moss is continuing to develop, continuing to evolve. And look, Adam, I agree with you. Miller Moss, great composure, great football IQ, great intelligence, great football mind, made great decisions, great reads, processed the game exactly, worked within Riley's system, but he did it in one game. He didn't do it for a full season. There is a difference, and that doesn't mean he's overrated or that he sucks. It just means we need to see more. And that's what Lincoln Riley's after. He wants to see more. So you don't just hand him the keys now. You go through spring. And here's the thing. If you're confident in Miller Moss's ability, which you are, Adam, which I am, and which the chat, people in the chat are, if you're confident in Miller Moss to begin with, you're not sweating spring ball. You're not sweating a competition. And Tim had the right point of emphasis. Jaden Mayava would have to blast him out of the water. If it's a close call, if they both play well, if Mayava is a little bit better, that's not enough to unseat the incumbent. Like, it would have to be dramatic. But of course, if Miller Moss is the real deal, as they're saying on those Christopher Walken car commercials, the real deal. If he is the real deal, you're not worried about being beaten out by Jaden Mayava because you're better. And Lincoln Riley is not going to suddenly swerve and give it to Mayava if both guys are competing at a high level. Mayava would have to demolish Miller Moss. It would have to be night and day in order for Mayava to leapfrog and unseat Miller Moss. So the competition is not a concern because it would have to just be an unfathomable blowout by Mayava for Moss to not be the starter against LSU. So it's just more. So when we think about competition, that creates the sense that it's a quarterback controversy. It's not. A quarterback controversy arises if Miller Moss steps on a rake in spring ball and Jaden Mayava just absolutely blows him out of the park. Then we have a quarterback controversy. We're not there right now. Miller Moss has the LSU job unless or until we see something dramatically different or contrary. So that's the way to read the situation. Tim offered the right perspective on it.
Well, I think you make some really great points, and I'll just make one more brief point. If it's true that he has to blow Moss out of the water, then there really isn't a competition, and Riley should name him the starter because we need team cohesion, we need buy-in, and I think the sooner that happens, the better. But guys, seriously, you guys are one of the best shows out there. I appreciate your analysis every week, and you're awesome. So fight on, and talk to you next week.
Fight on, Adam. Hey, listen, thanks for the kind words. We're just having a great time. Matt and I are writing all week long. I mean, for me, I don't know. I can't speak for Matt. I genuinely look forward to this every night. Just being able to talk to all you guys. Hope you guys can get out to some games. I'm gonna try to maybe do some meetups. I'm gonna try to get hopefully if I can get if there's a rumor that there's a YouTube guy that might be moving back to California. USCJ is a local guy. I think it'd be fun for all of us to just get together and just have a little meetup with all of you guys. It would be quite a bit of fun.
That'd be awesome. I hope it happens, guys.
Yeah, I see a lot of you guys when I go over to either one of their channels. I see a lot of your guys' names and Light the Torch guys. I know they're local. I mean, it'd just be fun just to get everyone together. We'll even get Matt out here from Arizona for a game or two. So,
if you guys do that, I'll fly out from Georgia.
That would be awesome. So, that would really be great, Adam, if you could do that. So, yeah, let's
Thanks,
make it happen.
Have a great night.
All right, you too.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks.
There we go. So we've heard from Adam. We've heard from Gary. We got some new calls. Leon from Orlando called back. Gary from Data Point, of course. LV from New York. Rick, first time call from LA. Thank you so much. That was awesome, you guys. That's how it's done. It's not, again, there is no off season, but this is a time, go ahead, get your feet wet. Where you don't bite, it's fun. Have a good time coming in. Brian called in from San Fernando, and obviously just finish up there with another a great call from Adam. So just to run down again, if you guys haven't, please do us a favor, and get these counts up. I know a lot of people didn't tune in last Friday. Where were all you guys? Go ahead and check it out. If you want to see what we talked about we talked about the linebackers on Monday, on Monday's show. Go ahead and check that out. Nice conversation. Just talk about Eric Gentry, kind of like that Swiss Army knife of the defense. And that Lynn said that he could see him playing all three, the Sam or the Will, but also he could play the Mike or the Will and slide over to Sam if they go out their nickel. So go have that, listen to that conversation. That was a fun conversation we had. And then also last Friday, we talked about the kind of like the Mount Rushmore of USC from the Pete Carroll era on, right? From the 2001 through just present time, and just trying to see who would your four guys be on the Mount Rushmore of USC football. Go check that out. Remember also on Monday, come check us out because Mark Rogers will be back. The trio, the three of us, the trio will be together, the Trojan trio for the Monday night show. Now that's wrong. That graphic, I got to get that fixed. My graphics department's fired. It should say 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern. Come check us out for that. And then next Friday, you guys, I promise you, I'm hoping to have some pictures and some good stories from spring ball. Come join us. It should be a great time. And as always, if you're not checking us out over on Trojans Wire, I don't know what you're doing. Make sure you get over there and check out Trojans Wire. Again, anything you want to throw in there, Matt, about Trojans Wire?
Yeah, just I'm looking forward to your coverage of spring ball next week. Going to be a blast.
Should be fun. Well, that's it. Friday again. Make sure you're back here Monday and Friday as always. Mondays, Fridays, we're here. If anything massive pops up, you know that we're going to go live. So in order to do that, though, make sure that you have us subscribe. If at any part of the show you enjoyed it, we enjoyed all of you being here. Matt, I guess that's it. Listen, we have a phone call coming in, but I'm sorry, caller. I've got to go. Appreciate you. Oh, that's what it was. We got a who was that? We got a live chat really late on Friday. Do you remember? We got a super chat.
Oh, I forget who that was. Yeah.
Handle this. Well, thank you for the $10 super sticker. That's from Gary and Dana Poit. Really appreciate you. You guys hold on 1 second. I am not leaving. I wrote it down as a note. Let me find it. I am not letting this go. It was after we closed, but someone threw up a $10 super chat. I want to honor that really quickly.
It was from Monday.
It was from Monday.
Monday show, right after we signed off.
Yeah, I'm just going through the notes. This is wonderful live. But I mean, I felt terrible that it snuck through with us getting it too. Well, unfortunately, I don't think I can find it.
Do it on
Jeff Rodriguez. How can I forget Jeff? Jeff, thank you so much. I don't know if you're still here, but Jeff, thank you for your super chat on Monday night. It was right as we were closing down and we were going. But just want to say thank you so much. Everything you guys said, just being here means a lot to us. Go ahead and hit that like button if you could. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Matt and I, you can check us out on Trojans Wire every single day. We have multiple posts up there. Appreciate everyone sharing their Fridays. This truly is the highlight of my week. You all stay safe. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe during St. Patrick's Day. And we'll see everybody on Monday, guys. Right on.